Everyone, welcome back to the Intelligence Racing League YouTube channel. Here we are getting ready for the Grand Prix of the Netherlands here at Zandvoort for round 4 of Division 1, and I'm filling in as the main commentator for Luke. I am being joined by him today though.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm currently on my mobile phone as with a 4G hotspot, so who knows how this could end up. Hopefully though we'll be able to stay in for what should be some great racing. It was good to see someone other than Josh take the victory last week.
Absolutely, Josh has been really outperforming himself. He's been performing really well so far in Division 1, but I believe it was Toxic Tomato to take the win last week out. So both experienced league racers, they can do some good battling on this Dutch circuit.
Yeah, definitely, and I think qualifying is going to be very important around this circuit. It's definitely not the easiest to overtake on, despite there being 2 DRS zones, and quite often you do get changeable weather around here, so who knows whether we'll have a wet race. I don't think we've had one yet in Division 1 at least, so that could definitely spice things up and mix up the order a bit.
Absolutely, I've done a couple streams in other leagues, I won't name them, around this track, and it's really been 50-50 on the weather. It can either be super heavy or completely dry, so it is really anyone's guess as to what will happen with the weather here today. But let's have just a little talk before we get started about the track of Zandvoort. We've had quite a few Grand Prix here. I believe it was 36 Grand Prix we've held at this circuit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a lot. It hasn't been used obviously since 1985. 2012 was meant to be the first year back, but obviously due to the COVID-19 pandemic it's not been used. But I think all the drivers were looking forward to it. It looks like a really fun track to drive around. I mean, I definitely enjoy taking the cars around it on the game. I'm sure in real life the qualifying will be spectacular. Like we said, racing might be a bit harder to overtake, but I'm sure that these guys will find a way.
Absolutely, there's going to be quite a lot of action going along the track. One of the most iconic corners around this track has to be the bank corner of turn 7. It's almost completely flat out through there. It's a brilliant corner to drive, and it's going to be one where others can maybe make some overtakes if they're bold enough, really. But we are getting ready to go. Everyone is readying up. We've only got 13 drivers here today, so if you haven't got any points yet so far, you could be in with a shout of a decent amount of points.
Yeah, especially if it does end up raining at any point. Like we said, that always seems to mix and equalise the order up. But I think you'll still get the guys who've been quick all the time. We know Josh and Toxic will quick. I think Westy, he'll be hoping for a good performance. We saw Daniel, he managed to get a podium on his debut last time out, so we could get someone different winning, but I do think those guys will be up somewhere near the front again.
Absolutely, we do have a debutant in LR Ironics. He was messaging me earlier saying that it is his first Grand Prix in Division 1. He is one to look out for, very experienced league racer, and he's got quite a lot of pace in him, so he's hoping to get a podium here today. But I'm also expecting a really great fight between Josh and Toxic Tomato, 2 of the race winners in this season. Toxic Tomato DNF'd in the first race, and these are his only points, the 26 that he got in Bahrain, of course, with the fastest lap. Josh has been consistent throughout the season, so it will be tough for Cameron to actually catch up to Josh throughout the championship as it progresses, to maybe come at him with a championship fight.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for all of them. We've seen some other drivers be pretty quick. He's not here, but BR46 Bowling, who Lyronix is actually in his car, as it looks like we have actually got a damp track for qualifying maybe, so just to spice things up a bit. But yeah, there's a few drivers that have shown good pace, as we said, but like Bowling, he's finished second once and always tends to be near the front, but just made a few too many mistakes. I believe it was him, Mr. Pop XL and Josh were battling last time around, when it ended up with Josh spinning around. Mr. Pop, mentioned him, he's scored points in every race so far, as has extra rotation as well, despite not being anywhere near the front of the championship at the moment. He's scored points in all 3 races, so that's always good. You never know what's going to happen, I don't think. I expect, like I said, Josh, Westy Daniel, Toxic Tomato to be near the front, but if they make a mistake again, this track's probably going to punish them more than Bahrain did.
Absolutely, a lot of gravel traps around this circuit, so if you go off you might be in a bit of trouble in that regard, but Mr. Pop XL has had a really good start to the championship. No podiums for him so far, but he's consistently been in the points. He will be the first one to start his lap coming up towards the end of the second sector at DRS Street. You can't really make many overtakes around here, especially at that corner. It's at the end of a DRS straight. It's you'd think overtakes will happen into turn 1 and turn 7, I would suggest, maybe even turn 2, because that's actually quite a wide corner from what I've seen, but I haven't done a proper race around here, so I don't know what it's like for these guys.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the easiest, as I said, to overtake. Turn 1's probably your best bet, but you do need to get a fantastic one through the final corner. I know in like career mode and single player, I do enjoy going into that chicane. I think it's turns 11 and 12 at the end of the second DRS straight, but you're not really going to be able to make a pass there online. These drivers are far too good and were far too wise for that. But I think you've just got to take advantage of the DRS into turn 1. Possibly a mistake from somewhere else, or maybe do it on the strategy.
Absolutely, on the strategy here you are going to be looking at most likely a soft to hard strategy, but some drivers can throw in a gamble if they're maybe starting outside the top 10. It will be a bit of a challenge, but a soft medium can be possible here. It's definitely not the easiest strategy at all though, so you will be struggling towards the end of the race, but you will have moments of pace as Mr. Pop XL, who's currently running in a high up position in the championship. He's about to cross the line, getting the shortest run up to the line. What's he going to do? He's going to do a 1:08.8. That is the time to beat on the soft tyres for the Racing Point driver.
Yeah, very decent first run, and you can see McCrew, unsurprisingly, has gone into second. 1 second behind at this moment in time. Daniel just behind Mr. Pop XL as well. So that looks like a very good opening run at the moment from the Racing Point driver. We've just got a few more drivers coming across the finish line now. Zentricity, who we haven't seen so far this season, he's in third place. Lyronics, his first race in Division 1. That's a very good lap actually on the medium tyres, 109.370. Very handy lap from him, as it looks like one of the Mercedes, Lewis, has got it wrong coming through. I think that's turn 8.
Well, Lewis yet to set a lap. Meanwhile, I was just watching Josh at the end of his lap, going 4 tenths quicker than Mr. Pop XL with a 1:08.4. That is a great time from Josh there.
Yeah, fantastic lap from him. So Lewis, I can see he's coming back to the pits with damage. I think Westy as well. He got it wrong coming out of turn 1 as well on his initial laps. So he's not set a time. A few drivers finding it quite tricky around this circuit, it must be said. Like I said, there's plenty of places where you can get it wrong. Turn 7's one of them. It almost tempts you into thinking you can take it flat, but if you just get it a bit wrong, you can be straight off towards the gravel and get yourself involved in a very big crash. But it's a bit like the first 2 races of the season where Josh seemed to be dominant in qualifying and then take that through to the race. Nearly half a second clear of the field at the moment.
Well, turn 7 is a corner that I find to be, it's easy to go through it normally, but to actually go the quickest way through it is so difficult to do. So you really have to have commitment to perfectly do it. Otherwise you will be running onto the curbs, which can dissettle the car and maybe spin you off or just take you straight off into the gravel trap. So you really do have to be quite committed, but also tentative through there. Is so tricky to nail it, as we've got a couple guys coming out for a second run, but most people in the pits, Extra Rotation and Westy, 2 drivers who have been in the points regularly in the championship so far on their outlaps. They haven't put in a lap yet. Neither has Lewis or last week's winner Toxic Tomato. So 4 drivers yet to put in a lap.
Yeah, Toxic initially was out on the medium tyres, so he's now gone to the soft tyres, so he obviously feels he needs to stay on those to have any chance of getting a good lap in. Westy, he's now on the mediums after making a mistake on his first one, so he had a very good result actually. First race of the season, managed to get on to the podium. Hasn't quite shown that pace again. He has been top 5 in the 2 races since then, Vietnam and Bahrain, so I think he'll be fairly happy with how his season's gone so far. Just hasn't quite shown the pace that he did in Australia, which suggested he could have possibly challenged for the wins. But we'll see how he does on the medium tyres at the moment, because it looks like everyone else is now going towards the softs.
Well, we did see initial medium runs coming out from Lyronics and McCrew. They now have fitted the soft tyres and they'll be coming on their outlap soon. Now, Westy's just invalidated it there on what looks like turn number 8. Or is it turn number 9? Whatever it is, he unfortunately cannot set this lap. So extra rotation, the eyes point towards him now because he is coming through turn 11, now turn 12 and up towards 13 and 14. The Williams driver, his teammate, running away with the championship, but he still wants to make up some vital points as now he runs out of ERS on the run up to the line. What lap can he do? He goes 6th fastest, 9/10 off, but a 109.3 is a decent time from extra rotation there.
Yeah, I think I'll be fairly happy about that. Maybe on his second one just needs to manage his ERS a bit better. Maybe towards the end of the straight, just turning it off to make sure you've got that acceleration coming out of the final couple of corners. What else have we got coming towards the end of a lap now? We've got Daniel actually. He's just come through the first sector and he actually improved, so he doesn't need to find much to get himself onto the front row of the grid with the Alfa Romeo.
Oh, currently he's 300ths off of Mr. Pop XL, who initially had provisional pole before Josh snatched it off of him, as now he's just coming through the end of the third sector up towards this almost flat out corner. You do have to go down a little bit here, but now you can put the pedal to the metal and up towards the line, trying to get the shortest run up to the line. You want to hold it to the right hand side as now Daniel crossed the line. Will he go on to provisional pole? He doesn't get pole, but he's closing in on Josh. That's 2/10 off of him, and there's Toxic Tomato with 500ths of a second quicker than Josh. What a time from Cameron there.
Yeah, definitely great lap from the Mercedes, and Mr. Pop XL managing to get himself up into third position. So we've seen a lot of drivers find big time on their second run at the moment, as Just has popped into 5th place. What can Josh now do on his second run? And Westy, he'll really be hoping that he needs a clean run, otherwise he could find himself starting right at the back of the grid here.
Well, with Josh's improvement through Sector 1, that would put him just a little bit ahead of Toxic Tomato, and now he goes purple through a second sector. It's still not a million miles ahead of Toxic Tomato here, but it is enough to put him onto provisional pole, and we did say that these two will be having a good time fighting each other. We'll see what Josh can do here, is now on the run up to the line, coming out the final corner, keeping it tight to the right hand side. Has he got pole? Yes he has, and he goes almost 2/10 quicker with a 108.2. That's a great time from Josh there.
Yeah, it must have been a fantastic final sector, because he was only a few hundredths up on his personal best coming into that, and it's not the longest final sector, as any of them really are around here. The shortest, before they announced for Bahrain out, I should say, the shortest permanent track on the calendar. So on the game, only Monaco is shorter out of all the full length tracks. So that's a great improvement from Josh. Laid a marker down for some of these other drivers. Both Ferraris doing pretty well at the moment, 4th and 6th position. As I say that, just so Bourvon Powell will lose it through turn 7, but no damage done, so he'll be able to carry on with his session. And Ferrari really needs some good performances, bottom of the Constructors' Championship at the moment.
Well, this could be the change that they need. Unfortunately, for real life, Ferrari are in tatters at the moment, so it's nice to see a Ferrari team doing quite well in INL, as I think McCrew is one of the only drivers on our lap right now. He's just begun it, so I think we should follow along with him, coming through turns 2 and 3. Easy to lock up through here. It's almost guaranteed that you will, and there it is from him there up towards this S section almost, and on the run up to turn number 7. He looks quite clean through here. Currently the slowest of all the drivers that have put in a time, but we'll see what his sector time is. Oh, he gets a little bit wayward on the curb, and look at that, he's 4/10, almost 5/10 up on his sector 1 time. This could be a good lap from McCrew.
Yeah, just needs to keep it nice and clean for the rest of the lap. Coming around turn 10, it can be tempting maybe to take a wider line through there to just straighten the exit. You use the DRS on the run down towards the stadium section of turn 11 and 12. This chicane into the long left-hander there. Just need to be careful on the exit. We'll see how he's doing at the moment, but it looks as though he's definitely going to head up towards the top 10 as he comes through turn 13, then flat out through the banking at turn 14, heading towards the finish line. Can the Red Bull improve? Can he get up into the 108? He can indeed. Moves into 8th place, just behind his Leonis teammate there, 19,000 separating them at the moment, as we have now got a few more drivers coming out for what might not actually be their final runs. Normally you only see 3 runs, as extra rotation has gone off going through turn 8. I think Justas is just coming past.
Oh, yeah.
He's just got too much wheel spin coming through 9 and straight into the wall, so looking like extra rotation will be at the back of the grid.
Well, that's a shame for his qualifying, but Westy, again, what? He keeps going into the pit lane here. Westy's not even put in a time yet. Granted, it was a really slow time from him, but I don't see why he wouldn't put in a time just to have one on the board. Because maybe Lewis might not even put in a lap. Speaking of Lewis, he's actually just started one, he's spun it. Coming out of turn number 1, he got too excited on the throttle, and now he's gone off. He might have to get out of the way here because he could be blocking the pit lane. And there is Justice, I believe, coming through there, and yeah, he's just gone past him. So Lewis, unfortunately, can't put a lap together either. Westy and Lewis struggling in this session so far.
Yeah, car number 13 then, Mercedes, looks as though if he doesn't get it sorted, he could well be the end of Sector 1 on his third lane run. I was just about to say, with it being a short circuit, Holland, you can get away with doing a few runs, as Toxic Tomato's gone too wide there. Coming through turn 7, that compromised his run into 8, and he's invalidated his lap, so it's time for him to get back into the pit lane and maybe get another run in to challenge Josh, who's feeling pretty confident at the moment. I think Josh is going to leave it quite late to go out again, and maybe see if he can improve that time, possibly even get into the 1-minute 7s.
It would be quite a sight to see if Josh can improve into the 107s. I haven't seen many 107s actually around this circuit, so it would be fantastic to see from him. But a lot of drivers finishing up on some more runs. I'm trying to see who is in the 3rd sector. I believe Lewis is about to finish a lap. He'd spun on his run, so he's going to come into the pit lane, fit another set of tyres, and I think we are not too far away from some final runs as old Brown Pole gets a little bit into the gravel on his end lap, so struggling. He doesn't want to start on those tyres.
No, we'll see how he does. He was actually down coming through the 2nd sector, so not ideal for him, and unsurprisingly, I think coming into the pit lane, just giving himself enough chance there to get another run done. Lewis and Westy really in the last chance saloon here. They don't want to be starting from the back. Like I said, it's very important qualifying session around here. Very difficult to overtake because it's quite tight in the midfield at the moment. You've got from 5th to 9th separated by less than 0.2 of a second at the moment, so slight improvement from any of those guys could really mix up the order, as Mr. Pop looks like he's heading out now. Could well be his final run in this qualifying session. Can he get himself onto the front row of the grid?
Well, only time will tell. Coming through turn number 7 there, you can see the commitment that he's already taken through there. He's not got much ERS left. That leads me to believe that he's probably done another run on this set, but he's going to push on this lap. He was down through the 1st sector. There's time till to be found, and oh dear, unfortunate for him, he has decided to back off on this lap, probably thinking about coming into the pit lane to put on another set of tyres and then go out again. We've got Zentricity beginning his out lap here. He's just come out the pits. He will probably be one of the last drivers on their final run. 5/10 off of pole, and that's in 8th position, so they are quite close throughout the grid actually. I will give it to them. It's a very, very close league.
Bit off the back is extra rotation, and that's unfortunate for him because obviously he had that crash, but we still yet to see Lewis and Westy set a time. Westy still in the garage. He said that he hadn't managed to get much practice done before this race, and I think that's probably why he's making a few mistakes at this moment in time, as Mr. Pop's actually gone out for another lap, so this will definitely be his last chance because I can't imagine he'll have much fuel left to get another run done after this. Only driver out on a hot lap at the moment, though just got Centricity just starting his now.
Well, this will probably be his final run in that Ferrari car, coming through turns 2 and turn 3. Might lock up through here. He's actually been quite tentative on the brakes, so he didn't lock up. That could help him on his run up towards turn 5 and turn 6 now, and on the run up to the infamous turn number 7. What gear is he going to take through here? He's going to go down into 6th, and a little bit of a slide through the corner, bit of oversteer, but that has helped him actually, as and he's lost it and he's into the wall, and that is his qualifying definitely over. He won't be able to improve on that run.
Yeah, the first bit of oversteer helped him get around the corner. The second bit definitely didn't help him, just a bit too much curb again, and it's so easy to spin your car around here at turn 7 and 8. Probably the corner I find the most difficult at the moment, as Mr. Pop has actually gone up into 2nd position, just 6 thousandths behind Josh, and that was on his 2nd lap on those tyres, so they are definitely lasting for a while, although most of the drivers won't have given themselves a lot of time to get a 2nd one, as I think it's Lewis at the moment. He's just coming around the final few corners. Looks as though he's kept it clean, so should be able to set his first time. Can he challenge for top 10?
Well, Lewis has managed to finally put a lap together. He's been struggling throughout this qualifying session. Said on my screen that he went purple through sector 2. That can only be a tell, and he's only gone 10th fastest. Of course, it is a glitch, and I think there's a Red Bull gone off. That could be McCrew. And that is McCrew. McCrew's gone off the circuit there in his home Grand Prix, and that is going to put an end to his qualifying. Has he got damage? He does. He's missing that left end plate, and his qualifying 100% over here.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers finding it tricky through turn 7 and 8, so that could be interesting to watch in the race. We might see a few drivers invalidate there, or possibly even make a mistake. It's just as I think he's just warming his tyres up. Pretty much everyone now is on their final warm-up laps or final qualifying laps. Josh has just come across the line, so he'll be hoping to build that gap up, because we've seen some big improvements from Mr. Pop as West is retired from the session. He's got it wrong through turn 8 as well.
Well, we can see on board with Daniel, it looked like I don't quite know what happened to him there. He either just went off and lost the wheel, but it looked like he retired. It didn't look like he was in the wall. Westy's going to start from the back no matter what. He hasn't put in a lap though, so unfortunate from him, as more drivers retiring around the circuit. I believe that was bar and pole in the pits actually for him, so good to see that there. And there's a Mercedes of, I believe, Lewis right off the circuit somewhere else on board with Daniel, who's not putting in a lap here. So who can we find that is on a lap?
I think Josh has backed off dramatically, so he definitely won't be setting another lap. Just as is looking like he's going for another run. Flynn Finisher seems to be travelling very slowly. I'm not sure whether that's just to give his teammate a bit of a slipstream, but that's surely just going to give Lyronics lots of understeer coming through turn 13, and I'm not sure that's worked as well as the AlphaTauri team would have liked. Lyronics did improve, stays in 5th position, just as now he's coming around final corner. Can he move his way up into the top 10? Indeed he does. 9th position, but Toxic Tomato, only man out there at the moment who is still on a lap time. Slight improvement as he come through sector 2. Not going to be enough at the moment unless he absolutely nails this final sector. Can he get his 2nd pole position in a row as he comes towards the finish line? Does it right at the end. 108.175. A lot of drivers making mistakes on their final run. Toxic Tomato didn't, and he's been rewarded with pole position.
Look at that gap between the top 3. They're separated by 33 milliseconds. That's 3 cars in that window. What a close qualifying. That puts an end to our session, though. We will have a full run through of the grid before we get underway for the race. I wonder if we will see any wet weather, if drivers maybe are running a wet setup. That would be interesting to see. But judging by the fact that they're all so close together, I do believe that we will have a dry session. That's just my prediction. But here is qualifying results. Toxic Tomato taking pole position. Josh lines up alongside him in 2nd position. Mr. Pop XL in 3rd. 4th for Daniel. Lyronics on his debut, he's in 5th position. And then Boit on pole. Not on pole, he's in 6th position. And Flynn Finisher comes in 7th. Centricity didn't manage to improve on that lap. He goes 8th. 9th for Justice. And rounding out the top 10 is LR McCrew. Then Lewis in 11th. Extra rotation 12th. And no time for West. He starts in 13th position as we get ready for the start of the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yeah, these guys really need to get a good run, especially Westy. I'm surprised he didn't just set any lap time there. I think he could have done with maybe taking it a bit easy on his first couple of runs just to get a banker in. Doesn't make too much difference, obviously, because not many cars here, only 13 unfortunately, as it's looking very overcast again. I think it will be dry once again for the start, but you never know if we're going to get rain again. That could definitely mix the order up, but those top three so close together during qualifying, and we saw battles last time between Mr. Pop and Josh, and it didn't go too well for Josh, so I'm sure he'll be hoping to get one over the racing point this time, and get one over Toxic Tomato to claim his third win of the season.
Well, as they're all just adjusting their strategies, we will get ready for the formation lap. I don't quite know what happened there. I sound like a 5-year-old for a moment there, saying can't pronounce their R's, but we will get ready for the start very shortly, as we're just waiting for a couple more drivers to ready up. I'm going to ask you now, Luke, who do you think will be your top 3 in this race?
I'm going to go for Josh, Toxic, and I think Daniel will end up beating Mr. Pop. I just think Daniel seems a bit better in the races than he does in qualifying. So I'm going for the top 2 to swap around and 3rd and 4th to swap around as well.
Interesting prediction there. I'm going to say that Toxic Tomato takes the win here. I'll say Daniel in P2. And actually, no, I'm going to go with Josh in P2. And then P3, I'm going to throw a curveball here. I think that Lyronix can get P3 on his debut here. He's starting in 5th. He was close in qualifying to Daniel and Pop. So I do think, actually, just to Daniel, but I do think that Lyronix can get a good start and maybe move up the order.
Yeah, getting a good start would be absolutely crucial, because we said it a few times in qualifying, it's not the easiest to overtake. They'll have DRS after 2 laps, obviously, and 11th, 12th and 13th have gone for the medium tyres, so that suggests it's either going to be a dry race, or if it is going to rain, it's not going to be until later on in the race. I'd be interested to see how far up the grid Westy can go, because we didn't really see his pace at any point. Made a lot of mistakes in that qualifying session. He scored points in every race so far, as has extra rotation just ahead of him. They might find it hard unless they can keep it clean, because I think we could end up with a situation where everyone who finishes gets points today.
Well, we've just seen at the end of the formation lap, McCrew and Lewis have been disqualified for making a bit of contact. With this track being so fast but so tight, I do actually think we will see a couple incidences. I'm not going to throw any names out there. I don't think any one driver is less or more likely to get involved in an incident, but I definitely think it is a possibility that we can see some accidents, as we're just waiting for the last drivers to line up, and we will get underway very shortly as we wait for the lights to come on. Toxic Tomato is on pole. Josh and M97 on the right hand side of the track. He is in 2nd position as now we wait for the 5 red lights to come on, and that was a quick launch there, and we are underway here. And who has got the better start? It looks like Toxic Tomato's got a run coming to turn number 1. Josh is going to file behind him already, and coming through turn number 1 now. It looks like it was a brilliant start from Toxic Tomato. Josh following behind him. Mr. Pop XL, and look at that, Bot on pole has got all the way up into 4th position right now behind the top 3, so he's jumped both Lyronix and Daniel. Daniel's fallen way down the orders. Now we got a spinner. That's Justice to surround. Oh dear, he's got damage. Yeah,
just as with damage early on. I think what happened to Daniel, I think him and Bob on pole made slight contact. That dropped Daniel back, and that allowed Lyronix to get a run as well. So it's been a great start from the Ferrari driver. You can see he's actually gained a couple of positions on the first lap. Westy's got 4 places on those medium tyres. You'd expect it to be a few laps before they come into their own, but he's had a fantastic start. Extra rotation moving up as well. And obviously we saw Justas going down a position as now Flynn finisher dives his way past at turn 11, past Daniel. Centricity tried to follow through, just got held up ever so slightly. Thankfully, no damage done. It looked like a pretty decent start from Daniel. He's found himself shuffled down into 7th place already. But Toxic Tomato and Josh very close together. Josh might already be able to go for a run down the straights, trying to go all the way round the outside at turn 1. Is he able to just keep an overlap at the moment? Toxic spare, giving him enough room, and that might just cost him, as Josh is going to go down the inside there into the hairpin. Toxic still trying to hold it off all the way down the outside at the moment, and he's got the inside for turn 7. Josh having to yield there, but it definitely looks like the Williams has got the straight line speed.
Well, what a little display we saw. They were practically holding hands throughout the entire the first sector, wheel to wheel through almost the entirety. Mr. Pop XL just watching from behind. If those two have an incident, he will be in prime position to take the lead. But what a defense from Toxic Tomato. He's a very talented driver, and he is proving that today with that bit of defensive driving. But I'm not going to discredit Josh, because he was brave to go side by side with Toxic Tomato for so long there, as now they file through. They'll be coming up to lap number 3, which is when DRS will be enabled. That could give Josh a better opportunity to get by Toxic Tomato here on this straight, where he could have made the over.
A bit further back this time, Wall and Pole then. Fastest man on circuit on that second lap. First full racing lap. Obviously now DRS is enabled. First time they'll be able to do it is on the run down to turn 11. Just as out on the medium tyres, so don't think he'll make those last until the end. He might be hoping for a safety car, and everyone's staying really close together. That's still in the race. Everyone will have a chance of using DRS here, apart from Toxic Tomato. As just watched in the background, the crew has managed to get alongside and past extra rotation just before they got to turn 7. Great driving from the Red Bull driver. I think he's using those soft tyres at the moment to try and work his way back up through the field after a bad start.
Well, extra rotation beginning to fall down the order ever so slightly now. He's scored points in every race, as we did mention earlier, but unfortunately sitting in 12th position, that can't be good for him. And I've just received a message on my screen saying that stream quality isn't, my internet quality isn't good for streaming. Last week that caused a massive delay for me, and that completely ruined the race. So I'm just trying to see if it's good for streaming. As here goes Josh around the outside. Sorry, I've been distracted. He set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with the DRS on Toxic Tomato. Can he get the move? He can't do it though through turn number 1, but he is closing up to the rear of that Mercedes. He's looking at Ineos through there all the way through the first sector, but can't get the move on Toxic Tomato.
Yeah, he's still trying here. He's all over the back of him. They have actually dropped Mr. Pop XL ever so slightly, and Wall and Powell looks like he's a bit of a cork in the bottle with both Alpha Tauri behind him, so they're having look forward their best race as a duo of the season so far. It's first time Lironix has been partnered with Flynn finisher. The Bolin and Flynn didn't look too bad at the first race of the season in Australia, but it's not exactly gone to plan for them since then for various reasons really. But Josh looking really racy at this moment in time. He's got a bit less ERS than Toxic Tomato, but it wouldn't surprise me if Josh just tries to take the lead of this race here. If he doesn't do it now, you'd expect him to go for the undercut, because it looks like he's got fantastic pace in that Williams.
Well, with the DRS again, not going to use much ERS coming down the straight here. Doesn't look like he's going to send a lunge into turn number 1 like he did last time. By big lockups from the both of them aren't going to hamper them too much. But now up towards turn 2 and turn 3, you can see Josh just hanging on the rear. He's probably noticing that he's using up too much ERS, so he's just going to save that up for a couple of laps, but still hanging onto the coattails. He's doing that perfectly, just causing Toxic Tomato problems. And now into turn 7, can he have a look? He can't do it through there, but Toxic Tomato runs pretty deep through the corner. That's going to allow for Josh to get a run coming up towards turn number 8 and 9. This is not an overtaking opportunity, and Josh has gone onto the curves, and he might be spinning. He's fine, he's saved it there, but he's lost a lot of time to Toxic Tomato with that mistake.
Yeah, we saw that's basically just what happened to loads of people in qualifying, got it wrong on that curve. Thankfully for Josh, he was able to hang it on and continue, but we'll have to see if he can close back up to Toxic Tomato. It only looks like it cost him a couple of attempts, but that's probably his chances of getting the move done down into turn 1 ruined again, although he does seem to be faster through those final couple of corners and through the final sector. Thankfully for him, Mr. Pop wasn't close enough to take advantage of that. All the drivers looking fairly close together at the moment, but with a lot of DRS trains going on here, and they're just not able to take advantage and see any overtake. So I think we're going to have to wait until the first pit stops for some movements, as the sun is starting to come out here at Zandvoort. So hopefully that means a dry race for these guys.
Well, a dry race means less chances of incidents, and I think the crew has gone He might have spun off in turn number 3 there. He's definitely going slowly, so he's lost the position to extra rotation, and oh, that's a shame for him. He might have ruined those soft tyres, meaning he will have to come in a little bit earlier. Doesn't hurt him too much, but of course he did lose a lot of time with that incident. Bois on pole, looks like he's really holding up Lyronics here, as Lyronics is just hampering the back of him, and now he goes for the move. That was a bit half-hearted, and that has unfortunately cost the position for Flim Finisher. And now here comes Intricity on the outside, coming up towards turn number 11 into the end of the DRS straight. He's going to have the inside line for this next corner. They're side by side now on exit. Flim Finisher's really been hampered there, and Zentricity gets a bit excited on the throttle, and he loses the position. So Flim Finisher being a little bit bottlenecked by his teammate, and Daniel managed to take the opportunity and get by on Flim Finisher.
Yeah, great optimistic driving from Daniel. I don't think Flim Finisher will be too happy about that. It nearly cost him 2 places there with Intricity nearly getting back fast. I think McClue's been into the wall again, fully wiped out his front ring, so he'll be coming into the pits now. And Josh still right on the back of Toxic Tomato. Mr. Pot doesn't look as though he's able to challenge these guys, but a bit like in qualifying, looks like these 3 are the quickest riders on track at the moment. We'll have to see if that's the same when we go on to their second set of tyres.
Well, there's already a gap of about 2.2 seconds between Pop and Bois on pole, so it really is a case of these 3 running away with it, and the rest struggling to catch up. That doesn't mean that they're completely off the pace. They are still keeping within some range, that if maybe a big mistake happens or something like that, that could spell a podium for Bois, Lyronics, or any of them. But coming on to lap number 8 now, we're just about to begin it. Josh is still following behind Toxic Tomato. He's used up a little bit more ERS than the Mercedes driver, but with that DRS, even though he seems to be slower throughout the middle parts of the lap, with the DRS it's just pulling him right back into it. Here comes Lyronics on the inside, moving up into 4th position. An easy move for him there. Bois falling down into 5th position, and now he's trying to challenge back into turn number 2 and turn number 3. Can't get the move though.
Yeah, good move from Lyronics. Bois on pole has definitely been dropping back from those guys after a good first lap, so it'll be interesting to see how he does now. I think soon we're going to start seeing the race come to maybe Westy and a few of these others that change tyres. I think McClue might have just made a slight mistake again, actually, as Justas manages to get past him. I'm interested to see how Westy, Lewis and extra rotation go on these medium tyres. The problem is for them, they're stuck with this slower traffic in front of them, so might have to get a bit imaginative with where they do the overtaking manoeuvre.
Well, at this point in the race, you'd probably think that the mediums and soft tyres will be of somewhat equal pace, and that could invite Westy and Lewis and extra rotation as well. He seems quite a long way back, extra rotation, but still, he's still a part of this fight. He's not completely out of it yet. But Westy, and there goes Josh, it seems. We've missed that one. As Josh on the outside of Toxic Tomato, can he get the move here into turn number 2? He's got the inside line for turn 3, and there it is, the move for the lead. Can he get it, or will Toxic Tomato defend on the outside like he did a couple of laps ago? And still they're side by side, they make contact. What a defensive piece of driving from Toxic Tomato there.
I've no idea how he isn't still in the lead. Toxic got it completely wrong coming from the final couple of corners. Josh got a fantastic run on him, but I think maybe just having that low ERS costing the both low on ERS at the moment. I think they're both fortunate not to have got any slight front wing damage from that as well, so we'll have to see how this 2 goes at the moment. Definitely fighting hard with each other at this moment in time, leaving each other a car's width and no more, and that's all you have to do in the corners with the balls. But we'll have to see who's going to be the first one to come into the pits, because this could be a battle that runs and runs. I've just got a feeling that if Josh manages to get in some free air, he would definitely pull away from Toxic a tiny bit more here, as we've got yellow flag, and that is McClue out of the race. Will that cause a safety car, or a virtual safety car? Not going to be in time for the leaders, so down to 12 cars in this race already.
Well, the first driver to come into the pits now, Bois on pole, and look at that, virtual safety car comes out. Hard tyres fitted for Bois on pole, and that's actually going to save him a lot of time there, because now everyone else is going to come in. That was a perfect pit stop.
Yeah, it was a bit delayed with the VSC coming out. I thought if it was going to come out, it would be a bit earlier on, but no, in the end, Bois on pole's timed that absolutely perfectly. Extra rotation, I'd say he you would, but unfortunately for him, he didn't time his braking perfectly up to the speed limit line, and he's got himself a 5-second penalty, which will probably be added onto his race time as he will take in those hard tyres towards the end. But maybe, but just maybe, Ron Powell could be in a fantastic situation here. He was in 5th position, and he'll have definitely saved himself a few seconds there as we're off racing once again. And Josh, I think, has caught Toxic Tomato by surprise actually on the run down towards turn 11. He's got ahead before the corner. Toxic is still hanging on there. There's more wheel banging between them, but I think that's going to be the Williams ahead this time. Great use of the VSC ending there from Josh. Used with DRS as well. He takes the lead in this race.
Looks like he caught Toxic Tomato napping. Could this be an opportunity for both of them to pit now? And look at that, Toxic Tomato's going to stay out another run. He's got DRS here, so he's probably going to want to use that up a little bit. But now Josh has come into the pit lane. We're going to start to see more and more of the soft runners come into the pits, unleashing Westy and Lewis into a bit of clear air as well. They still, don't forget, they're on the medium tyres, and they've got plenty of life left, and they'll probably go maybe about 6 more laps, I would think, to go about to lap 16 to the end of that, and then they can fit on the hard tyres, and they don't have to worry about tyre wear at all in this race. They could just push as much as they want. They could be in the best position if a safety car comes out as well. But look at that, bottom pole comes out 3.3 seconds ahead of Daniel there. So with that perfect pit stop, he's really got away from who he was fighting in this race.
Yeah, definitely. I would expect some of these others now to come into the pits. Probably Toxic, Mr. Pop, and one of the Alpha Tauris. You'd imagine it to be live on it, so Flynn Finisher could find himself in a bit of trouble here, being the second of the Alpha Tauri cars out on circuit at the moment. Westy and Lewis, they've just got to try and go on a bit longer, obviously, to try and get to a point where you can use the soft tyres, because you have to use 2 different types of tyres. If they can't do that, I'd imagine they're probably going to pit in the next 5 or 6 laps to get the to put the hards on. As we now see Toxic Tomato and Lyronics come in, you'd imagine Josh will be in the lead, as we undercut. He's very effective in Formula 1. He's got the momentum, and he will come out in the lead of this race. Toxic Tomato going to slot in just behind him and not too far ahead of Raw on pole. This could be interesting for when Mr. Pop XL the pit. Could see a Ferrari in a provisional podium slot.
Unfortunately for Toxic Tomato, what I noticed was that he actually got held up by the Alpha Tauri who was coming to the pits, and that cost him a lot more time, and now he's 1.8 seconds back from Josh when they were about separated by 0.2 before the pit stop phase. So maybe he should have come in and boxed the same as Josh, because with that undercut it's allowed for Josh to run on fresher tyres than Toxic Tomato, and he's now lost so much more time. We'll have fresher tyres towards the end of the race, but with the white wall tyres it's not going to make too much of a difference. So Josh, for me, is looking like he's in the best position to take the win.
Yeah, definitely. You'd expect that at this moment in time as Mr. Pop comes into the pits, and you imagine Flynn will be coming in as well, so that gives Westy the lead of this race. He wasn't really catching up to those guys ahead of him as much as I'd have expected, so maybe we're seeing the medium starting to go off as well. So I think there'll only be another 3 or 4 laps maybe before they come in and put the hard tyres on. It's going to be very close, I think, at the end of this race. As you can see, actually, Boismont Powell here hasn't managed to come out behind Mr. Pop XL, despite going on that extra lap longer. Hasn't really lost too much time to Josh, and in fact he's closed up, if anything, to Toxic Tomato.
Well, yeah, definitely Toxic Tomato's the biggest loser in the pit stop phase. Cameron's not going to be happy at all with that, because now with DRS it will allow for Mr. Pop to close up more than he is able to close up to Josh though. There, and bottom pole didn't manage to get ahead of Mr. Pop. Must have been a great stop from him. So moving ahead of Lyronics though, he did lose the position earlier on in the Grand Prix. This has helped him a lot, bottom pole, with that VSC. Very lucky for him. We've had 1 DNF so far. Look at that Toxic Tomato with a 3-second time penalty that could cost him later in the race.
Yeah, especially if everyone else manages to keep it clean. You don't usually see as many penalties around here as you do with some of the other circuits, just because there's so much grass runoff there. We've seen, even if you run over the curb like Josh did earlier, it can cost you quite a dear. In fact, he did very well to hold on onto the cars way down at the back. Flynn Finish has actually gone for something different. He's gone for those medium tyres, so he needs to make his way up through the field pretty quickly, otherwise he's going to be a sitting duck at the end of the race.
Well, I don't know if that was a strategical blunder from Flynn Finisher because, well, they're not going to make it to the end. We still have about 22 laps left, and you can make probably 16 on the mediums as he's trying to challenge into turn number 7. Daniel's going to be holding up here a little bit, but yeah, I don't know if he made a mistake or he's predicting a safety car. He wasn't making many points in this Grand Prix anyways, so I guess if you're going to take the risk, you can do it, but I don't know. I don't think it's the right choice from him, and I'd rather have 2 points than no points at all when he gets a puncture.
Yeah, because I can't see him getting those mediums towards the end of the race. The telling sign might be how long Westy and Lewis go. I thought Westy was heading towards the pits there, but in the end, not. Cruz left the session, and Flynn, you can see there's actually managed to get past Daniel in the penultimate corner. So you can see he's definitely going for it here, but he's used all of his ERS up. He's not going to have DRS. Daniel's just going to cruise straight back ahead.
Daniel's done really well here to maintain his ERS. He's still got 84% on board and a little bit of a wobble from Flynn Fisher coming out of turn number 1. That's going to make him lose a lot of time. He didn't time that overtake right. He went for it in turn 13 and didn't actually think about getting the DRS, and that cost him on the straight. So as gaps begin to form between drivers, there's not really many battles going on the circuit right now. It seems everything's calmed down a little, but I do see Toxic Tomato is closing in on Josh ever so slightly each and every lap, so we could see some battling towards the end of the Grand Prix, but for now not too much. Westy and Lewis though still remaining in the lead of the Grand Prix. This could maybe cause some traffic for Josh because he's beginning to catch these two. Could be detrimental to Josh's race, as will they come into the pits this time by? Yes they will. Westy's in, Lewis is not.
So that's to me that Flynn is
I wonder if, oh dear, oh we've lost Luke. I think he's left the session. He's still in the party with me. I don't quite know what's happened there, but I will continue with the race. Flynn Fisher, I can't, if he is still here, I can't hear him. His internet has been playing tricks on him lately, so this could be, hopefully he's going to stay in the party and then we won't lose him from this, but that's a shame if we have lost my co-commentator for this one. I'll see if I can send him a message or something. Meanwhile, we will just keep on board with this fight for P7 right now. Flynn Fisher has got the medium tyres on as opposed to the hard tyres of Daniel. Westy is in the points now, so he's found himself in 10th position and now on fresher tyres than all the guys ahead. Not by too many laps, but he doesn't have to worry about them later on in the Grand Prix. So as there he goes on Zentricity, who's got no ERS or DRS to help him. Westy moves up into 9th position into turn number 1. That was an easy move for him there, as yeah, Zentricity hasn't got much to fight him with, as Flynn Fisher still can't find a way past Daniel at this moment. So really struggling with medium tyres, and he's taking a lot out of them trying to fight with him here. I'm wondering if Lewis is staying out, he's prolonging his stint to hold up Josh here, maybe push him into his teammate just enough so he can give him DRS. Because Lewis isn't gaining much from this race. He was behind Westy. He's probably going to come out behind extra rotation, I would think. You don't actually lose too much time, so you're losing about 14.5 seconds, so no, he won't come out. He'll come out behind Zentricity in 10th position, but extra rotation won't be ahead of him. I'm just trying to see though where Luke is. I'll send a message. I don't know if he's here or not. As meanwhile, oh, there's Lyronics and Bois on pole having a little bit of an incident. I've got to send an invite. Oh, Flynn Fisher's out of this race. I've got to send an invite, but I will do that after this battle's calmed down. Bois on pole and Lyronics coming together for a moment. And I'll send an invite to Luke, so I'll be as quick as possible. Right, I've sent him an invite. Hopefully, having to do it over 4G and it's just kicked me off. He's still in the party for me, but I can't hear him. No, I can't hear you. He says he can hear me, but I can't hear him. Right, this is an issue. I think one of us is going to have to leave the party. I can do that quickly, or is it easier if you do it? Oh, there it is. Hello.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that, but yeah, I think I started hearing you again back when you were talking. Peter said like Lewis might be trying to hold up Josh to let Toxic Tomato catch up. Don't think that's really going to work now. I think Josh has got so much more pace and obviously got the much better tyres, but who knows how long Lewis is going to go out here. It might be worth him just trying to get those mediums another few laps to see if he can get on the softs towards the end of this race.
Well, I did say earlier on that if it is going to be possible maybe to make the softs work, and Lewis, look at that, he's holding it to the inside. I actually think he is trying to hold up Josh here to bring Toxic Tomato back into the fight. Here goes Josh around the outside. Lewis leaving him not enough space there, pushing him onto the curbing. This surely will bring Toxic Tomato into the fight. Look at that, he's gained 2/10 through turn number 1. I think Lewis, he's trying to ruffle the feathers of Josh at the moment.
Yeah, most certainly. He's doing a fantastic job of it, I must say. Josh just needs to manage his DRS a bit better here, because he ran out as soon as he got onto that straight. That's why, despite having DRS, he had no chance really of getting past the move done. That's the only way he's going to be able to do this without Lewis, I think, forcing him off track ever so slightly. In fact, he might have a chance here down the inside into turn 10. He's locked up. He's going to have DRS though down the next straight. And I think game is up now for Lewis. He's still trying. He's actually got the inside line for turn 11. Surely he's going to have to yield here. He doesn't. And that's really going to start holding Josh up now. He's done a fantastic job, because you can see Toxic Tomato is going to get DRS on this lap. So Lewis has done a superb team job there, I must say. I wouldn't be surprised now if he steams into the pits and lets his teammate go.
That was quite the battle actually. Lewis, I thought he was going to lose the position onto turn 11, but he kept his foot in there. Fair play to him. Now he's going to go onto the hard tyres to go to the end, and the battle has resumed now. 4/10 separating Josh and Toxic Tomato. Toxic Tomato, who was gaining ever so slightly each lap, he's had some issues, and now bottom poles out of the race. And we'll see on board with Lewis where he's lost it. He's lost it, and there's a safety car out. And this could see some action down in the pit lane. We could see some medium tyres come out. They can definitely make it to the end if they go onto the yellow wall tyres.
Yeah, timing's worked out pretty well for Justas, who's been able to get into the pits. Lewis must just be kicking himself. If he'd have gone on one extra lap, he could have been right up towards the front of the field. But I do imagine we'll see everyone now coming into the pits, putting the medium tyres on, and could definitely spice things up through the order of this race. Only really got 10 drivers left now, because Flynn finishers obviously disconnected. So it's going to be very interesting indeed, especially now we've seen those front two drivers close up together.
And it's interesting now that Justice, who's had pretty much nothing to do all race, he's been by himself after his turn 1 spin, it does actually bring him back into the fight. And this race now has been blown wide open. Josh is going to stay out for whatever reason. Meanwhile, everyone else is going to come in. Toxic Tomato finally doesn't get held in the pits. He's going to come out and emerge in P2, I think.
Yeah,
why didn't Josh pit?
Wouldn't pit, and Toxic and everyone else would have some traffic to get into, but as you can see, everyone else has pitted clearly, and that's Yeah, I'm not quite sure why Josh has stayed out there. That could definitely cost him. Toxic needs to get past and to get 3 seconds ahead of him, but he's on the much faster tyres at the moment. Fuel and ERS shouldn't be an issue now with this safety car coming out. But yeah, this will really close the order up, and it's brought Westy back up as well. He's currently in 6th position in the Haas after a dreadful qualifying. He'll be happy with how he's doing at the moment, but I think Josh might just be regretting his choice to stay out now.
Well, Josh, the only driver who didn't come into the pits, and look at that now. He's caught the safety car, fresh mediums on Toxic Tomato's tyres, and about maybe on his car, sorry, and maybe about 7 laps ago, I was saying that Josh is in the best position to win this race. I think I might have all changed. Don't forget though, Toxic Tomato did get a penalty, and I'm not sure about other drivers on their penalties. I'm not going to show it on stream to ruin the surprise, but Toxic could be hampered by that if they're all bunched up towards the end of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, just a quick check through the top 5, and Toxic's the only one with a penalty at the moment. Most of the others only have one or no warning, so he's definitely got to hope that there isn't a late safety car that bunches everyone up. And I just wonder, maybe that's what Josh is hoping for, that we do get another safety car. You quite often see it in Formula 1. Once there's been one safety car, if everyone gets bunched up, you can easily get another. Maybe that's what Josh is hoping for, because otherwise it looks as though he's definitely made the wrong choice.
Well, only time will tell, as we got to do mandatory 2 laps on under safety car, so I believe we won't be coming in this lap, or I think we might do one more lap, or comes in this lap, then we won't see the safety car, hopefully for the rest of the race. But they're in turn 7 right now. Some sort of conflict going on between extra rotation and the AI car of Flynn Fisher. The AI car seems to really slow down under safety car once the restart is happening, and it basically pushes everyone about 2 seconds back. So I think extra rotation might want to get by.
Yeah, definitely. One person who I'm interested to watch as well after the restart is just as he's on the soft tyres like he was on at the start of the race, and he's only done 1 lap on, so I expect him to be lightning once the flag drops, as we are going to get safety car in this lap. Everyone on the mediums, apart from the man in first and last at the moment, and I think they might struggle in this race. Josh initially just to build up the heat in those hard tyres, because we see it quite often. Once you've worn out the harder sets of tyres, he really struggles to come up to temperature, so first few laps could be crucial for him, and Toxic knows he's got to try and get back past as quickly as possible and build that 3-second window.
Well, Josh is in charge of restarting the race, and now he's going to start accelerating. Justice has a 5-second time penalty for making contact with Lewis there, but now Josh has pulled the trigger and he's away into the start of the safety car restart. Look at that, Toxic Tomato didn't get a good run on him, so Josh kind of caught him napping there. This could invite Mr. Pop XL into turn number 1. Doesn't look like it as they move further back beyond the grid. There's almost 3 wide in the back there, and Lewis has got by extra rotation, so he found the gap, and Justice gets by the AI car of Flynn Fisher, who now drops out of the points. But look at that, as I did say, Lewis and all the guys behind have lost a lot of time to Zentricity, who's trying to get by on Westy here. Can he make a move into turn number 7? Doesn't look like it. Runs a little bit deep through there, and he can't get by. But we move throughout the lap, and Josh still maintains the lead.
Yeah, he's done well at the moment. I think the longer this goes, the more likely he could be to take the victory. When DRS gets active, though, that could be a problem, because already he's nearly used half of his electrical energy. Toxic Tomato still on about 80% at the moment. The Mercedes flying around. Reverse of what we saw earlier. Obviously, Josh was hounding Toxic. It does look as though Toxic's able to keep his ERS in check a bit more, but now we're going to see from a few of these other drivers, like Ronix, he's right on the back of Mr. Pop XL. So the racing point looks as though he's been a sure bet for third all the way through this race. We'll have to see how it goes as Toxic set the fastest lap of the race. He's going to go for a very late move down the inside into turn 1. Josh has seen him coming, thankfully, and he's not able to pull it off, but that just shows how much extra brake he's got at the moment on these tyres.
Well, he tried to make the move stick there. He really wants to get going, because with that 3-second time penalty on board for Toxic Tomato, he's going to be under pressure from the cars behind. He could lose so much time since they're all so bunched up together throughout the field. It is going to really be a test of his pace once he does get by Josh, which I do think is imminent unless Josh pulls off a masterclass with the defending. Toxic Tomato really wanted to get that move though, and unfortunately he couldn't pull it off. No DRS was of assistance because it's not active until the second lap of green flag running, which we haven't had yet. We are about to cross onto the third lap of green flag running, which means DRS will be enabled, and that will assist Toxic Tomato and all the guys behind who want to make overtakes.
Yeah, obviously Toxic's just stuck a bit in the dirty air as well, which just compromises through some of these corners. Just getting a very good exit. Oh, getting very tight to the wall there, and I think that's caught Toxic out, nearly damaged his car. You see Josh there, fastest lap of the race, so Josh went very tight on the exit of the final corner there just to try and break the slipstream, and it nearly ended up with the Mercedes heading into the barrier, so that probably gives the Williams driver maybe another lap of reprieve. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some very minor front wing damage that we can't visually see on the Mercedes after that, because he definitely clipped the wall.
Well, I was riding on board with him and I did definitely hear like rubbing against the wall. So I think if there is wing damage, we can't see it, and it's not going to affect him too much. He's not going to lose much time at all. But it definitely did lose him time on the initial bit of contact because it killed his momentum. Still with the DRS though on Josh, going to turn down his ERS. Both of these guys not having much ERS, they are pushing with their lives. And Josh is going to really start to struggle against the medium tyres as they come up to temperature. And get into their prime operation window as now through the last couple of corners. The ERS has been activated for Toxic Tomato. Trying to hold the tightest line is Josh, but look at this, with the ERS and the slipstream, he's gonna close up and go to the outside of Josh M97. Toxic Tomato trying to make a move around the outside. They're side by side on exit, and look at that, oh, there's a bit of contact and Josh almost went off there, and oh no, Josh has been spun. He was left no room for damage to Lyronics, and this has really unraveled the race here.
Yeah, this is completely changed it. I'm surprised Toxic didn't actually go for the inside line there, because Josh did just leave the car away. Maybe thought it was moving a bit tight. Then we saw a bit of contact on the exit of the corner. Josh, understandably, trying to defend his place from Mr. Pop XL. Those two made contact. It led to Josh spinning around, and poor old Lyronics, just innocent party, arrived on the scene way too fast, obviously unable to do anything about it. Probably going to cost him any chance of a good finish, and it's been another race where AlphaTauri's looked very quick, and neither of their faults really. They're going to struggle to get any points.
That is so unfortunate for Lyronics on his first race. He did nothing wrong there. He was in a really good position. I think the stewards will have a look at that. We will probably see a report coming out from Josh there. He might feel that he was left no room by Mr. Pop XL at turn 3 or turn 2, sorry, but he now is in 9th position, and that is the end of his race effectively.
Yeah, it's such a shame for Lyronics and Josh as well, obviously. You know, I was going to say it might have even been worth him actually maybe coming into the pits and putting the soft tyres himself and just trying to go for the fastest lap. We'll have to see how he does on those hard tyres, but he's going to find it very, very difficult now. What that does mean though is Toxic's in the lead of the race, but obviously Mr. Pop doesn't have any penalties at the moment, so now the Mercedes has got to try and get away. He's been quicker than the racing point all race. It's just whether he can get that gap up enough, especially knowing that Mr. Pop XL has DRS.
Well, if their qualifying result was anything to go by, these guys are pretty much even on pace almost, so I think Mr. Pop XL could be within a really good shout of winning this race. If Toxic Tomato can't get away from him, they've got a big gap back to Daniel, who now finds himself in 3rd position, who I initially did predict him on the podium, but then I took him off and I put Lyronics there. So unfortunate from Lyronics because he did nothing wrong there. But Westy, look at that, he came from 13th position. He's just positioned his car perfectly. He's done nothing wrong all race, and now he's in 4th position, almost on for a podium.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he does, because he will obviously have DRS against Daniel. Maybe there will lack of practice. He might just cost him a bit more once the tyres wear out. We'll have to wait and see there. Mr. Pop still staying within that 1 second window, but it looks as though he's having to push extremely hard, although saying that Toxic's pushing extremely hard to break that gap at the moment, just as he's still hanging on in 7th place. Does have that 5-second penalty, but usually 5-second penalties under the safety guard do get moved unless you've done something absolutely ridiculous. So might still get a decent performance from him, but his tyres will start to wear out, and that's 2 races in a row now where Josh been involved in a battle with another driver, and he's ended up coming off the worst. And to be honest, I think the stewards will have a look at it, but I'm not sure there's a lot, definitely not a lot. I don't think Mr. Pop did wrong. He was just, he was going at such a different speed to Josh that any slight movement is obviously going to lead to contact.
My view is that I think maybe Josh should have backed off there because he was going a lot slower than Mr. Pop into the corner, and Mr. Pop was just taking his normal racing line. But then again, he didn't have to back out. He really should have. So it could be his fault for that, but he didn't have to. So Mr. Pop really should have left the room, but is definitely one that the stewards will want to take a closer look on into. I believe I was on board with Josh when it actually happened, so definitely that will be a point of view which will be helpful in the decisions that the stewards will make. We'll probably see that maybe tomorrow or something. I don't quite know when we'll actually see the stewards' decisions, but nothing Josh can do about it now. He just has to get his head down, try make back for lost time. He's not in a very good position right now, only in 8th position. That could hurt his championship, especially since his closest rival, back by 25 points, is Westy. That will bring him closer into the championship fray later on in the season. He's trying to chase down Daniel right now, who's in 3rd position. He's played a blinder in this race. He's really come out of nowhere. He wasn't anywhere. He had a really bad start as well, so fair play to Daniel. He's in 3rd position when no one really expected him.
No, he just kept it clean, pretty much inherited that sort of keeping it clean while from ironic, so he said a bit unfortunate to get involved in that accident. I think it is, I can still see Josh gaining a couple more places. I think he's quicker than all those drivers ahead of him. Definitely, you could argue with today's performance, definitely quicker than everyone, possibly even including Toxic, because we didn't get to see what Josh did on a final qualifying run. So once Justas's tyres gone, I imagine he'll be able to get past him, maybe even Lewis as well. We'll just have to see how quickly he can catch these guys up. But the gap at the top is 1.5 seconds now, which means it's pretty much 1.5 seconds more Toxic needs to find if he wants to take 25 points here.
I definitely think that Justice's tyres will go off towards the end of the Grand Prix. Toxic Tomato has pulled out a 1.5 second gap. That is still not enough to win the race. He has to pull out another 1.5 second window on top of that, what he's got now, to Pop if he does want to win. Or Pop can still get a penalty. I don't quite know his warning situation, but he is losing a bit of time. Not too much per lap. We've only got 5 more laps of running actually in this Grand Prix, so it's not over for Pop. He could have a surprise win when neither of us predicted him to do it.
Yeah, it's good. I don't think we expected him to be quite strong in the race as he has been, but he's doing okay at the moment. Kept himself nice and clean, managed to do a good lap out in qualifying. He's in 2nd place at the moment, so he's still got a very good chance of getting victory. It just all depends how he's done. I think he's going to get DRS off the Ghost Star Flynn finisher, which is definitely going to help him. So yeah, not an ideal situation for Toxic Tomato with Mr. Pop getting DRS there. Westy seems to have dropped back ever so slightly from Daniel at this moment in time. It's just as picks up a penalty, so that ensures that he will get jumped by Josh because he has that 5-second penalty as well. So at least Josh is going to get some points here again today, because that incident could have very easily ended up in retirement.
Absolutely, it is good that Josh didn't rage quit and retire in the pits. He still needs those points to win the championship, so fair play to him for staying out. His race isn't completely over. He has got how much to him? He's 2.1 seconds back from Justice, whose tyres are most likely going to go off very soon, because what we saw from the initial pit stop window is that they did about maybe 10 laps on those tyres, so he can go maybe one more, since they did a couple runs under safety car before they completely go off the cliff. Might get a puncture if he's not careful in managing the tyres, so it will be a test of Justice's tyre management in this race.
Yeah, it will definitely be a test. It looks as though Daniel's dropped Westy. Well, he's looking like a good battle, Lewis. That one that Justice is at the back of, because Lewis, very close to the back of Centricity, was in his first race here, doing well. In 5th position at the moment in the Ferrari, but he's looking pretty marginal on fuel at the moment in time, and he's low on ERS as well, as is the Mercedes. We've said that about a few drivers, that ERS management doesn't seem to have been the strongest subject for many, but Lewis is going to try and move around the outside here, just not able to get enough of an overlap to get ahead of the Mercedes. So this could bunch all these guys up, and maybe if there's a mistake here, Josh could still somehow end up with a top 5 finish. It would be a miracle. But out at the front, 2.5 laps to go. Mr. Pop's dropped to about 2 seconds back at the moment, so you've got to say Toxic Tomato needs to find a couple of attempts over the rest of this lap, and then 4 attempts on the final 2 laps if he wants to take the full points here.
I really think that it's going to go right to the wire. One mistake could change the race for both of them. Lewis really wants to get by Centricity here. Lewis had a really good race, to be fair to him. I'm actually just going to look at the most positions gained. There's yellow flags, and that's Westy off. Oh no, he's got damage and he's in the wall. Oh, out of turn, is that turn 10 for him? Yeah, that is. His race is pretty much over now.
Yeah, he's going to come out back onto track in 10th place. So as long as he keeps it going, doesn't quit, he's still going to get himself a point, but it's looking so much more promising than that. Looks as though he was going to get some extra points, but I did say maybe that lack of practice might start costing him when the tyres start wearing out, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's just put a bit too much throttle on there coming out of turn 10. I obviously didn't see it, so not quite sure what has happened, but he'll still be able to get himself a point today, and what that does do is promote Josh up another place. So he's currently on now with penalties to finish in 6th place.
Crucially as well, Westy and Josh were 1 and 2 in the championship. Josh favoured by 25 points, and now finishing ahead of him is at least going to allow for Josh to extend his championship lead over his closest rival. I believe that Westy, if Toxic does end up winning this race, he will lose out on 2nd position to Toxic Tomato, but it is going to help Josh in the championship with those 6 points that he's picking up right now.
Yeah, Josh will obviously stay in the lead, and we are all heading now towards final lap of the race. The gap on track is 2.4 seconds, so that is 6/10 in favour of Mr. Pop XL. Is Toxic going to make it 2 wins in a row, or is Mr. Pop going to get his first? Westy's come back out and put the soft tyres on. He's obviously trying to get the fastest lap point, and he might as well do. At the moment, with only 10 cars actually being on circuit, as Centricity and Lewis battling into turn 1. Lewis trying to go around the outside, similar to what he saw his teammate do to Josh earlier, and in the end the Mercedes has made it stick, so Lewis up into 4th place, just goes a bit deep though. Centricity not able to fight back, and Toxic, you can tell how hard he's pushing at the moment. He's going to have the final sectors of his life though, if he wants to take the victory here.
Well, 6 tenths will be the gap at the line. That is beginning to get closer, as now 5 tenths towards Mr. Pop, and he's losing it through here. He's running out of fuel. Look at him, he's pushing too hard. Both these guys blinking red, which means they are on the verge of running out of fuel. This could really unravel their races if they do end up running out. And coming through the last couple of corners, it's 2.8 seconds. Toxic Tomato is going to come through turn number 14 now. Will he run up to the line? He's going to have 3 seconds probably as he wins the race on track. I don't believe it. It's 3.2. It's, oh my word, I couldn't even get my words out there. Toxic Tomato was won by half a tenth.
Wow, maybe Mr. Pop, he was a bit low on ERS. Maybe if he just had a tiny bit more, that could have made a difference. Maybe if he had a tiny bit more fuel as well. Josh, in the end, then getting up into 6th place in the end, then, so he'll be fairly pleased with the fact that he still managed to stay in that race. But it'll be interesting to hear what conversations the drivers have with Discord later about that incident involving Toxic, Josh, Mr. Pop XL, and Lironix, who was definitely the innocent party, but he comes home in 9th place. And I was just waiting for Westy as he comes round the final couple of corners. He's going to head towards the finish line. He's going to finish 10, but if he does get the fastest lap, it'll be a couple of points for him. So yeah, Westy with the fastest lap, but Toxic Tomato there, 0.052 seconds I think it was, and he takes his 2nd win of the season.
Well, that is 2 in a row for Toxic Tomato now. What a performance from him today. Driver of the day from F1 goes to Lewis, and I do have to agree, he didn't, not only he made up positions, he also played a great team game in pushing Josh back into Toxic Tomato, bringing him into the fight, and ultimately that did help Toxic Tomato get the win. But now he stands atop the podium. He's won this race. Mr. Pop XL lost out by half a tenth of a second, and Daniel with the final place on the podium. Great performance from him today, and we will have a full rundown of the grid. So as previously mentioned, Toxic Tomato takes the win of the Grand Prix, and Mr. Pop XL finished in second with no penalties. Daniel in third, Lewis coming from 11th into 4th, Centricity with a good 5th place finish, and Josh, after his spin, what could have been for him, he finishes in 6th. Justice in 7th after he had his lap 1 spin. He's probably going to get that penalty removed as well. An extra rotation, finds himself with another points finish. He's in 8th. Lyronix on his debut, unfortunately, only takes 9th, and Westy with the fastest lap, he gets an extra point. He's in 10th. And our non-finishers, I'm going to count Flynn as a non-finisher, are Flynn, Bois on pole, and McCrew. And what a race that was, I have to say.
Yeah, what a race it was indeed. Just a shame for Mr. Pop XL at the end. He either ran out of tyres, I think ran out of fuel, and ran out of ERS. So close there, 0.054 seconds. Great job from Daniel again. That's 2 races, 2 podiums, so he's doing very well indeed. And it looks as though Josh and Toxic Tomato could have quite a few battles this season. I do wonder if Josh could go back to when that safety car came out. Surely he'd head into the pits and put the medium tyres on, because you just saw how much more pace Toxic Tomato had on him. That allowed him to get alongside. Then there was a bit of contact between them, and it ended with Josh spinning off the circuit. Very lucky that himself and Lyronix didn't end up retiring.
Absolutely, but from us that is the end of the race. Hopefully next week Luke will be streaming and he will have his internet fixed, but if not, you'll join us again in the commentary box for Division 1. Have a good day everyone, see you next week.